I would also love to introduce Shrenik Baid, a very good friend and an old colleague of mine. We were together in PricewaterhouseCoopers, where Shrenik has had a 20-year career. I respect Shrenik for many, many reasons. I think he was probably among the youngest partners in the firm, Shrenik, and we would love to hear about your journey at some point. I think he was probably 27 or 28 when he made it to the partnership. And at a time when IFRS and US GAAP was just kind of um, becoming a hot topic, is when he kind of got into that area, and he pioneered that practice along with our common boss, Mr. Sanjay Hegde, to kind of build out that practice for PwC. He's currently a partner with Deloitte. Shrenik again spends a lot of time in social welfare activities. So he's very active at Lions Club in Kandivali, where he runs both a vocational skill training center and also a medical center. Like Ranjit, Shrenik is also into gaming, but not of the virtual kind. He's of the physical kind. So he's an avid cricket buff, not just an armchair buff, but is an avid player himself. Right. So once again, thank you, Shrenik, for joining in today, and looking forward to learning from you. Look at some of the functional areas, or I think you used a nice word for it, niches, right? So when you were starting your career, Shrenik, it happened to be US GAAP, IFRS, right? And you kind of boarded that train at the right time, and obviously it kind of turbocharged your career, right? I similarly remember 1997 when the insurance sector was first opening up. There were finance professionals who got into general insurance, life insurance, broking, actuarial services, and then they did very well for themselves, right? Similarly, e-commerce, probably about 3 to 4 years back, we found that people who kind of got in there, the career progression was very, very fast. So, I mean, if you were to look at today's choices that people have got to make, and today the practice, when we were doing our articleship, Shrenik, it was very easy, right? I mean, you could do tax and audit and some corporate finance and transfer pricing. I mean, you worked hard, the partner liked you, you pretty much ended up doing everything. But today it's an area of micro specialization and niches. So for somebody who say probably in their early 20s or mid 20s, and I think that's a question that one of our participants, CA Mohit Lunkar, is also asking, after CA what? So within the profession, what would be those niches that you think would be high growth areas in the next 3 years? And I'll probably ask the same question to Ranjit as well from an industry perspective once you're finished.
See, this question, I would like to kind of, if any individual is wanting to take a decision, and if I were in your position, uh, three things matter the most. First is your interest and your aptitude. Every individual is different. So, what is that excites you, where you put in your 100%, but the output becomes 200%? So, you need to identify what your strengths are, and I'll give you the options, which or what three things which would be really niche here right now. And from that perspective, second is the timing, which is very, very important. At a point in time where I was starting my career, that time, as I said, US listing was not something which used to happen. It was something different, right? Or something unique. So what is in the current time, what is that unique aspect which you would be looking at from here to, as Venkat said, from for next 3 years point of view? So between, if you look at from a profession perspective, what ultimately, whom are you serving? You're serving your clients, and the things which people look at is either you are being looked at, ultimately you are being looked as a trusted advisor. So the trust comes in by way of how you give an assurance. So when you're doing an audit, and that gives you a satisfaction that is coming from you. And from a client perspective or the investor perspective, they are really valuing your output in terms of the assurance which you give through your audit reports which you issue. So that is one thing which will always remain, the heart of a practice. In terms of people's expectation, it is quite high at this point of time. And audit as a profession as well is changing quite fast. The way we used to do audits maybe even 5 years back versus the way we are doing audits now is changing a lot. So there also it's new learnings and the way to deliver is different. So that will continue to be always evergreen if you have to provide that as a service. Second is with respect to advisory. Advise when you come again, when you look at from your client's perspective, um, when you look from your client's perspective, uh, they are looking for solutions. Now, we need to identify what is a problem statement and what is how I can provide a solution to them. In the today's time, as I said, while being chartered accountant, we are very close to providing accounting advisory or IPO advisory to people. But everything has been around now around technology. Um, and as a professional, whether which is going to be a very niche activity, mo along with CA, if people do CFA or CFA, for example, and can provide services around modeling, it is very critical. Analytics is second aspect, which is very, very niche at this point of time. It's very much prevalent in the industry. So data analyst, while as a profession where you have data analyst specialist, is one bit of it, but you as a chartered accountant can provide functional expertise in the areas where clients are looking for solution. And the data analyst comes along with it, where you can acquire the basic skill sets and provide that service.
Very helpful, Shrenik. Thanks for this. So very, very quickly, just to kind of a supplementary question, if you like, on what you just mentioned. See, there are these newer areas, right? Like, for example, maybe 3 or 4 years back, the entire insolvency and bankruptcy code came up, right? Um, so are there emerging? I'm not sure what's the potential in areas like this, but if you say maybe look at transfer pricing or forensics, which are more specialized areas within, say, audit advisory or tax. So apart from data analytics, are there any other areas that you would probably want to pick?
Other thing is forensic is playing a very, very big role today. Again, it may sound it is again related to technology, because the use of technology has grown so much. The frauds are happening around the corner, and forensic is something is playing a significant role. So that is the second area I would pick up, where how we can advise our clients to a do a preventive controls, where the frauds areas are identified where the frauds do not happen, or when actually it happens, there are forensic activities to find out where it originates from. The rest all, as you said, whether it is tax or the valuation, these are all going to continue on a regular basis, but these would be a couple of areas where it should be really niche.
Shrenik, one question for you is about the qualifications that, let's say, a Big Four or a large professional services firm would be looking at, right? And you did kind of very briefly alluded to CFA. But beyond the CFA, CMA, CA, maybe MBA finance, I mean, are there any other courses or qualifications that you see your HR teams looking for while onboarding candidates into Deloitte?
Yeah, so okay, Deloitte, as you know, would have different verticals trying to service clients and looking for people with different skill sets. When it comes to, let's say, providing support to CFO services, that's where we are looking at now. One trend which is changing is we are going beyond CAs to look at as an alternative options. Today, it's a real challenge to find the right candidate, and a candidate to hire is really a nightmare. So the alternatives which being looked at as apart from CFA is FRM, for example. That's a very nice course, and with some technology expertise also is being looked at. So there are alternatives which being, but CA still holds the trustworthy certificate when it comes to as an entry strategy for people.
Got it. Also, maybe a follow-on question to that, Shrenik, is we have K. Venkatesh, who is asking a question that beyond these professional degrees, which are still more function specific, right? What kind of technology courses do people need to take? And you did mention about difficulty in hiring and possibly, and I think both you and Ranjit mentioned that we'd like to see candidates with some understanding of technology. So are you referring to actual experience in tools like say maybe business intelligence tools or RPA? Or are you expecting them to have some kind of a qualification or a course maybe on LinkedIn or Upgrad or any of these? I mean, what exactly are you as employers looking for? Maybe I'll start with you, Shrenik, and then go across to Ranjit.
Sure. So again, one has to look at what point in time the person is coming and joining, whether it is just started his career versus with some experience. When it comes to a person who is just coming in, we would have expected the person possibly, again, giving reference to analytics, I would have possibly thought if somebody would have done some basic course on R, Python, SQL, that helps because that is how analytics, basic courses would be relevant for him. When it comes to person with a little bit more experience, we are 20 years back, this SAP was quite prevalent for people and was in high in demand. Today, there are many other solutions which companies are implementing, whether and very niche. So Blackline, for example, is becoming a very niche for a reconciliation tool, or Concur is there. Oracle is there. So there are many specific tools. If somebody comes with the specialization, you get hired. For a person who's just starting a career, I think there is not so much pressure. But yeah, knowing these basic analytical tools, familiarizing with those tools helps a lot. And to give you one context, um, when we look at 20 years back versus now, just to bring that context, knowing Word, Excel was very critical at that point of time. If you don't know, you are being considered illiterate because, how do you operate without knowing a simple Word or Excel, right? At that point in time. Today, the data sizes have grown so much where Excel is becoming irrelevant. That is where the context of these analytical tools into day-to-day operations also. Even though even in industry, I'm sure Ranjit would agree. People have started using SQLs and other basic analytical tools by finance professionals themselves. So these are now becoming like if you do not know how will you operate.
Do you see industry specialization as a bottleneck in moving?
Not from my
Yes and no.
perspective.
Yes and no. So what is happening is, if you see today, people above 45 or 50, are becoming irrelevant when they're looking for changing jobs, unless they have grown significantly high in the organization. Uh, People want new blood when they're looking for change or looking to hire, right? So there is and if you have been doing only one activity in your organization and you do not possess other skills, it is becoming really challenging in terms of getting into other industry or even getting into the same industry into different organization. So, reskilling yourself is going to be very, very critical.
So next question, if I can come to you, Shrenik. This is from Manali, and it's a very classic trade-off. What she says is there's a gap between what you want to do and the opportunities that come, right? And sometimes you end up compromising by starting up in a career where we get the opportunity, but eventually you want to kind of go to, what is your real calling or passion, right? So how does one think about this trade-off? Should one be tactical and go with the opportunity, or should one have conviction in one's passion and stick with that?
So it's all about timing, what you want to do versus whether you're getting the right opportunity to do. And some bit is around what Ranjit mentioned, go with the flow. How do you, do your, even though, first thing would be that, yes, you should wait for the right opportunity, what you would want to do. But if it's not coming way, I would not kind of, spend my time waiting for that opportunity. I would rather get the first opportunity where I'm get into that and try and explore how can still I reach to my ultimate goal where I need to reach. So it's not a perfect world where exactly I'll get what I want, but converting uh, what I'm getting as an opportunity into where I want to go that is how I would approach it and go with the flow.
Lalit Kumar has got a question, Shrenik, possibly if you could take this. What are the opportunities for part-time roles in finance field? I mean, are the Big Four open to working with people remote, part-time, etc.?
It again goes back to what is that you're going to help the organization with. What Ranji that you did too. So if there are specialized skill sets and that is what you are bringing to table, I'm sure people would consider it. Or if there is a specific smaller organization who are looking for a part-timer, then it would work out. If those skill sets is not there, it will be very difficult. That match should happen. And can I take the next question? I think that is very nice question. So MBA is not important. See, whether it is any degree per se, or any course which you have taken, whether it's MBA or CA, it is important when you get your first job or maybe the second job in initial part of your career. Thereafter, it does not really matter. People look at what is the skill set which you carry and how that is going to be relevant for me. When I am hiring, I'm going to look at on that basis. The CA or MBA really does not matter. It's just it's the beginning of the career where somebody does not know your skill set is what you're looking at. Okay, what is where you have done your studies from.
Prasad's a very interesting question. He says he's got 14 years of experience in finance and accounts, and he's a team lead. And the next level, which he's seeing, is as a people manager. And he says he tried, but he was not successful. So, is there any kind of a course in team management that he could take up?
So this is more of a soft skill, right? Where you may not find a specific learning course for this, and the way I keep my team motivated is, as we discussed, initial part of the whole discussion, when is the person is going to look for a change? It is where there is where he sees that his learning is stopped. So when you are on the other side as a people's manager, what you need to provide is that how my team members are constantly learning, whether it is a skill set or whether to go to the next level, how whether he's becoming a leader, getting ready for being a leader. So that's how I would manage. I keep giving my team different learning opportunities at different clients, and that's how team remains interested to kind of continue in that in the organization.